multiple inheritance is supported in case of interface that we haven't seen, right? So let's target that now. Then we'll jump to directly the exception handling. So eagerly waiting for that. That's another important topic. So basically, as I mentioned, one interface can implement, can extend, not implement, can extend multiple interfaces. How is it possible? Let me show you that. Create a new interface. So I'll create a interface, runnable interface. So I'll just create a one method. I'll declare. Basically, I'll declare the method, and that is void run method. And one more common method I'll create in each interface, so that's where we got problem, right? So you can this method I'm just creating a common method in all the interfaces. Create one more interface, that is printable interface, and here I'll create two methods. One is void print method and void display method. Okay, so these are the methods we defined. If there is a common method, so we are not able to call them in the multiple inheritance set in case of class. Here how to do, see that showable interface. Another interface I'm creating here. What I'm going to do here is another one, create two more methods, show method, and then create one more common method, that is a display method. All three interfaces has a one common method, and now three interfaces we created. Now where is the inheritance here? So now I'm going to extend other two interfaces. Extends runnable, comma, another one printable. That's what I told you. One interface can extend multiple interfaces. Why it is possible? Because you are not creating object, right? You are not implementing here. Now what will happen? This showable will get runnable and printable methods also while implementing this showable. So that means you have to implement showable methods, runnable methods, printable methods wherever you are implementing this showable, because extends will give a permission for these from these interfaces. This showable can access runnable and printable methods also. That's why you have to implement them in your own class. So let's implement this showable interface. Now this is the multiple inheritance, right? This is the multiple inheritance. One interface extends multiple interfaces. That's a multiple inheritance. So you are not getting any error here. You see that. But class inside only will implement these things. Let's implement a new class you create, and class is multiple inheritance demo, and take main method, click on finish. So just implements what is the class? Showable. Sorry, interface name showable. So now it is asking add unimplemented methods. Mouse over here. Add unimplemented methods. Add unimplemented methods. So add unimplemented methods. So run, print, show, display, and main method. So this so I'll just write a few logics here. Simple logics. I'm not in much extra here to see the out and print. Write a simple one statement. Okay, print the output to the log file. So show me the code. So it's gonna also write something to display the content on the screen, right? So all the methods we implemented. Now you can create object for this class, and showable interface you can do that. That way you are overriding here also, right? You are overriding showable sh equal to new multiple inheritance demo. So sh dot, you can call run method sh dot print method, sh dot show method, sh dot display method. Only one display method is coming. So this is how you can handle multiple inheritance is supported in case of interface, right? Any questions?
No, Ramesh.
No, Ramesh.
No, sir.
Okay. Now the next one is a very important topic, exception handling. So how can we? So what is this? What is the exception? Exception is an unexpected event which occurs during the execution of your program. At runtime, it will occur. We won't be there at runtime, right? If runtime occurs, your program is going to terminate in the middle itself. Where the error occurred, there itself it will terminate. Remaining code won't execute for us. That is called an exception. And it stops your program execution flow. Till end it won't execute. But I want to execute till end. Then how can you do that? So that is called exception handling. So exception handling is one of the powerful mechanism to handle runtime errors so that normal flow of the application can be maintained. That's the main advantage of exception handling. So even the error occurs in particular line, the remaining code will continue execution till the end. Only in that line where error occurred, it will throw error for us, a meaningful error message, and then it will continue execution of all the lines of code. That is what exception handling. Smooth flow of execution will be maintained with exception handling. So what is error and exception? This is another very, very important interview question. So error indicates that a serious problem that a reasonable application should not try to catch. And exception indicates conditions that a reasonable application might try to catch. That's the difference between error and exception. When exception occurs in the program, execution terminates. In such cases, we get a system generated error message. The good thing about exceptions in that they can be handled in Java. Exceptions can be handled in Java. By handling these exceptions, we can provide a meaningful message to the user about the issue rather than a system generated message, which may not be understandable to the user. System generated message is not understandable to the user. That's why we are going to provide our meaningful user defined message so that you can understand when the exception occurs. And easy to debug, easy to solve that problems. That is the exception means. So why an exception occurs? There are several reasons for exception to occur, and we'll see that. You're opening an existing file in your program, network connection problem, bad input data provided by user. So these are all the reasons for exceptions. And so we'll see one by one later. But first understand the hierarchical structure of exception classes. So the root class is a throwable class. This throwable class is available in java.lang package. So all these exception classes are available in java.lang package, and the throwable is the root class. Throwable is the root class of exception classes, and which inherits the two subclasses. One is exception and error, and is the hierarchy. Now throwable is the root class that is extended to two subclasses, exception and error. Exception and error. So in the exception, again, you have so many: IO exception, SQL exception, class not found exception, runtime exception. And runtime again categorized into few more: arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, number format exception, array index out of bounds exception, and string index out of bounds exception. These are the runtime exceptions. And error categories: stack overflow error, virtual machine error, out of memory error, and assertion error. These are the different category of error. And there are two types of exceptions are there, checked and unchecked exceptions. What is the difference between both of them? Checked exceptions means the classes which directly inherit throwable class except runtime exception and error are known as a checked exceptions. You can see the classes, these are the classes directly inherits the throwable class other than runtime exception and error is called checked exception. That means these are the things. So those are all IO exception, SQL exception, class not found exception, and file not found exception. These are all occurs at compile time only. So checked exceptions occurs at compile time. While writing the code itself, you will get those exceptions. That's a checked exception means. What is checked exceptions? The classes which directly inherits the throwable class other than error and runtime exception class is called this checked exceptions. Checked exceptions occurs at compile time. So example of checked exception is IO exception, SQL exception, class not found exception, file not found exception. These are all going to occur at compile time itself. That means while writing the code itself, and you will get these exceptions. What about runtime exception or unchecked exception we call this? So the classes which inherits the runtime exception class is called unchecked exception, and these occurs at runtime only. Runtime only means when you execute your program, then only you will get these exceptions. That's the runtime exception, and we can call them unchecked exceptions. So unchecked exceptions, we have arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, number format exception, array index out of bounds exception, and string index out of bounds exception. And I have given the reasons for array index out of bounds exception. I'm not sure how many of you remembered, but okay, so not a problem if you don't remember. So these are all unchecked exception examples, and these are all checked exception examples. And what are the reasons for this? All these exception reasons, why they will occur, we should know clearly. If you know these, why they are occurring, and it's going to be easy for us to solve the problems. If even that exception occurs, you can easily handle them. Wherever you're writing a code, you feel that okay, this line might throw an exception, you can include this exception handling there. So even the error occurs also, your remaining code will execute. There is no dependency. So that's the advantage of this exception handling. And arithmetic exception, when you will get arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, number format exception, index out of bounds exception. When you will get all these exceptions, and array index out of bounds exception, when you will get this. So let's discuss one by one. The first one is a common scenarios of Java exceptions. When these exceptions occurs, a scenario where arithmetic exception occurs is if we divide any number by 0, there occurs arithmetic exception. So in take 50 by 0, and this is the one it's going to give arithmetic exception. Why I will divide with 0, you can ask. We directly are not using 0. You are using some variables. Variable supposed to get some value, but you got 0. Then there's a problem, right? That means wherever you are dividing two numbers, you add try-catch blocks. You add exception handling concepts so that it won't give any problem and it won't stop the program execution on that line. It will continue further. So that is called arithmetic exception. Now, I hope you are clear here, arithmetic exception, why you will get. And second one is null pointer exception. Null pointer exception. So null will be for which variables you can give, what kind of objects you can give. Only for objects and strings, right? Null will be there. Only for objects and null. String variable has a null value. Object variable, reference variable, and string variable has a null. This is the default value, right? You can give for these string objects, and object reference variable has a null. And suppose if we have a null value in any variable, performing an operation on that null variable throws a null pointer exception. This is the commonly seen exception in our code or even in a developer's code. So that means some variable you declared as a null, you are not passing value properly to that. Maybe you declared globally your object reference variable globally, but again you declared that same variable as a local variable. Local variable, if you make that object address doesn't pass to global variable, right? That is the reason, but you are using a global variable in another method. Such cases, and it has a null value, while execution time it will throw null pointer exception. That's the reason if any variable has a null value, and then on that null value to perform operation or calling the methods, calling the variables on that using that null variable or null object, and you will get a null pointer exception. That is called where you will get a null pointer exception. Then you get a null pointer exception. So here is the example: string s equal to null system.out.println s dot length. See, I'm calling the string method. The string s is having a null value. So initially you can declare null, but later you assign the value for that s. Don't keep null. You change it to some other new value. So the variable value should not be a null. If it is a null and calling the methods on that variable, definitely it will throw null pointer exception. And number format exception. Wrong formatting of any value may occur. Number format exception. You are converting one variable value to other variable format, one data type to another object format, or object to primitive to object. You are trying to convert, then this number format exception might occur if not happening properly. The wrong formatting of any value may occur. Number format exception. Suppose I have a string variable that has characters. Converting this variable into digit will occur. Number format exception. Alphabets you cannot convert into integer, right? If there is alphabets in the string variable, that you cannot convert into digits. That if you try to do that, then you will get a number format exception. How can you convert a string value into integer primitive data type? So this is the formula you have to use. String s equal to abc, and in this is the primitive data type, right? I equal to integer dot parseInt method and pass the string variable here. So now this is going to throw a number format exception. Can you tell me what is happening here? This line. Can you explain me what is that line doing?
It's trying. The integer is trying to convert it into.
What do you mean by that line?
It's converting that digit.
Where is the digit here?
So there is int and there is integer both.
Where is the digit here? So S is containing alphabet ABC. The string.
String converting into integer.
But where is the integer? Okay, fine. But what is this? All these things. What all these things? Which is doing that? So what is this line?
మెమరీ ఇది దీని మెమరీ క్యారెక్టర్స్ లో తక్కువ ఉండడం వల్ల దీన్ని చేంజ్ చేసుకుంటుంది. It's turning.
Oh, madam.
It will turn
Integer value anedi 16.
So you are not understanding here. Suppose I have a string variable that has characters. Converting this value into digit will occur number format exception. So now this is occurring a number format exception. So because of this alphabets, I'm trying to convert into digits, and then this line you are getting a number format exception. But that is not my question. Forget about exception. What is this line? What we are doing here?
We are trying
Forget
to
about
convert
exceptions.
one data type is
Forget about all those conversion on this thing, madam. I'm asking what is meant by this line? What you are doing in this line? So almost Vaishnavi close. So you are, see that it's a class, integer class, and this is the, what type of method is this? What return type of method? Okay, fine. What type of method?
Integer type of.
Return type is correct, madam. What type of method is this? How can you call like this? Which methods you can call like this? Which methods you will call with this? Is a class,
Static.
right?
Static method.
Static method. So this is a
Static
class,
return type.
class name dot static method, but it's a return type method. So returning integer primitive data. But what is this integer? Integer is a wrapper class. What is wrapper classes? And but here string into integer wrapper of integer primitive data type, and you have to use this formula. This is the formula, fixed formula. Any, for example, here alphabets are there, that's why you are getting a number format exception. Suppose if there is a numbers here, and that will be converted into primitive integer data. But now as S contains alphabets, and this is not going to process. Instead of processing, it will throw number format exception for us. And why you're getting a number format exception? You're doing a wrong formatting. So alphabets you cannot convert into digits. And this point you are not remembering. You keep on telling, okay, that. So I'm telling clearly, wrong formatting we are doing. Alphabets you cannot convert. If there is a digits in the string format, then you can convert into integer. So that kind of strings are there. A digit format or number format, your string is there. You can convert into integer primitive format. That means object you are converting into primitive format. Object, this is a string object, right? String object you are converting into primitive format. So this is the wrapper classes will do that. What is a wrapper classes? I'll explain. Just give me a few seconds. We'll go after finishing this array index out of bounds exception. So I already explained when you will get array index out of bounds exception.
negative or
Okay.
greater than or equal to the length of the array. Yeah.
Array index is negative, you will get that 1 point.
Greater than also or equal to the length of the array. Yeah.
Array size is more than the array size. You're
More than
inserting
the
the elements.
Yeah. Or
You're
equal.
inserting the array elements. And then next one is,
Array size is 0, and then we are trying to access it.
so these are the reasons, right? So now here see, if you are inserting any value in the wrong index, it would result in array index out of bounds exception. See that my array size is 5, but I'm inserting a 11th element. Where is the 11th element here? There is no 11th element memory for this A array. Only 5 elements you can store, but we are trying to insert 11th position. So this line will throw array index out of bounds exception. So to solve this problem, we are going to handle exception handling concepts. So all these exceptions, so how to handle, I'll show you. So now you know the reason why they are occurring. If you know the reason, then you can handle them easily. If you don't know the reason, and then you cannot debug your code. That's why if you are getting a number format exception or null pointer exception, immediately you should try strike for you. Okay. So null pointer exception means, so the variable whatever I'm using that has a null value. That's why I'm getting a null pointer exception. Immediately you should strike in your mind. Then you can easily debug that. Okay, why it is null value? Why I'm not passing the value for this variable? And you just analyze that. That's how you have to, so analyze step by step. If you know the reasons, you can analyze. If you don't know the reasons, we cannot analyze, right? So that's the reasons I'm giving all these reasons. Why these exceptions are occurring is a very, very important. Know the cause first. You should know the cause, why that exception is occurring. Then to solve the problem is very easy. Once you know the reason, and you can easily debug and you can get it. Okay, now, so let's move on to wrapper classes. What is a wrapper class? So wrapper classes is another very, very important concept. So wrapper classes are used for converting primitive data into objects, like int primitive data to integer object, and objects into primitive data. Both you can do with the wrapper class. That is called wrapper classes. What is the purpose of wrapper classes? Wrapper classes are used for converting primitive data into object format. Object into primitive format you can convert using wrapper classes. Both vice versa you can do. Primitive into object format you can convert. Object into primitive format you can convert. So both ways you can achieve with wrapper classes. So wrapper classes provides a way to use primitive data types as an object. Okay, I want to use my primitive data into as an object. So that is possible with this wrapper classes. And 8 primitive data types has 8 wrapper classes. So these are the primitive data types. Boolean primitive data type and wrapper class is Boolean. So how can you say this is a wrapper class? It's a class.
Uppercase letter.
Start with
Capital
uppercase.
Start letter is starting with uppercase letter. That's a indication for you can easily recognize. Character class is there. Byte class. Short class. Integer wrapper class. This is the one we use now, right? Object you converted into primitive there. So object, string object you are trying to convert into integer primitive type. Into primitive type. That conversion we can do with this wrapper classes. That's why I use a wrapper class there and their methods. Wrapper class methods I have used there. Then long wrapper class. So long primitive data type has a long wrapper class. Float primitive data type has a float. Double you have. So these are the 8 primitive data types has 8 wrapper classes. So these are all also available in the, all these classes available in the java.lang package only. So why we need a wrapper classes in Java? Java is an object oriented programming language, right? So we need to deal with objects many times, like collections, serialization, synchronization, all these places you are going to deal with only objects. Such cases these wrapper classes will help us. And first one is change the value in method. So you want to change the particular value in method, you need to use wrapper classes. Java supports only call by value. So if we pass a primitive value, it will not change the original value. But if we convert the primitive value into an object, it will change the original value. It will convert into object. So that means primitive value directly cannot convert. You cannot change. But using wrapper classes, you can convert primitive data into object format. That's the methods inside you can call this code with this wrapper classes. Serialization. So we need to convert the objects into streams to perform the serialization. If we have a primitive value, we can convert into object through the wrapper classes. So primitive value you have, how can you convert into object? So that you can do with this. I'll show you in the next few minutes. Just bear with me. So collection framework and the Java collection frameworks deal with only objects. In the collections, you have to give objects only, not primitive data. If you give primitive data, it won't accept. So collections, you have to give only objects, all classes of the collection framework like array list, linked list, vector, hash set, linked hash set, tree set, priority queue, array DQ. All these classes deal with the objects only. So all these areas, if you want to work with objects, only we have option, that is wrapper classes. So wrapper classes will help your primitive data will be converted into object format. And fourth point, an object is needed to support synchronization in multi-threading. So if you want to handle synchronization, so you need these wrapper classes. In that object we need. So it's a simple example I'm giving: collections, hash map, and this is the data type of, see that, integer wrapper class and string. So this is the key data type and value data type. So HM equal to new hash map, integer and string. So these are the how what we are doing here. Can you tell me what is this?
Object creation.
We are creating object. So that object I'm storing in HM variable. Basically, map means key value pair will be there. So key, the integer is the key data type and value data type is a string. That's we are specifying what is the key data type, what is the value data. It's a pair, key value pair. So that's a map. And so for type safety, we use wrapper classes. For type safety, use wrapper classes. This way we are ensuring that this hash map keys would be of integer type and values would be of string type. So that's a one important thing. Wrapper class objects allow null values, while primitive data type doesn't allow null value, right? Primitive data, you never going to assign a null value, right? For primitive data. So did you assign anywhere null value? Primitive data types, did you assign anywhere null value?
No.
Boolean, char,
No, sir.
byte, short, into, long, float, double. Did you assign anywhere null value? No, right?
No.
No.
But wrapper class objects allow null values. That's the advantage, another advantage here. When working with the collection objects such as array list, where primitive types cannot be used. So the list can only store objects. Array list can store only objects, not primitive data. So like this. So if you create object for array list class, and if you declare that data type, the values in this array list, if you declare a primitive data type, it is invalid. It's not the correct format. So because collections doesn't support primitive data, and collections support only wrapper objects only, not wrapper, objects. Objects you can define with wrapper classes. That's why this is the wrapper class, integer wrapper class. I'm specifying all my numbers are in the object format. Those are integer wrapper objects. So that's the main difference you can understand here. I'm giving example of collections. Collections, you cannot write primitive data. You have to write always wrapper object, wrapper class type you have to write. So whatever the type you are keeping inside this collection, but you have to specify the data type of that elements. All the elements in this collection and are type integer objects. The first one, auto boxing. So what is auto boxing? Automatic conversion of primitive data type to the object of their corresponding wrapper classes is known as a auto boxing. What is auto boxing? You are converting a primitive data into object format is called auto boxing. So for example, conversion of int primitive data to integer wrapper object, long to long object, double to double object is called auto boxing. So here is the example: converting a primitive type to wrapper object. Converting a primitive type to wrapper object. You can see here public class Java example, public static void main method, So this is the primitive data type, right? Int num equal to 100. It's a wrapper data, sorry, primitive data. Now I'm converting that into object format. How can you convert into object format? So this is the one. Integer object equal to integer dot value of num primitive data you are giving. So that will be converted into object. The same 100 is converted into object format. So obj contains 100 now. So system.out.println num and object both are having. So how we are converting a primitive data into object format? Another important point. How we are converting primitive data into object format? Using wrapper class, and that method value of method you have to use. Value of static method you have to use. That returns that same type of object. Use integer object it returns. If you use a double object, if you use a long object, so that's the converting primitive data into object format, and this is the formula you have to tell. Okay, so any doubts here? That is called auto boxing. So what is auto boxing? So converting primitive data into object format is called auto boxing. Any questions here? See that when you print, object also has 100 only. So now this 100 is the object format. As you can see, about both primitive data type and object have same values. You can use obj in place of num wherever you need to pass the value of num as an object. So wherever you want to use this primitive data as an object, you first convert that into object format. Then this obj you can use anywhere. Suppose in the collections you have to pass, you can do like this, and you convert them into object format and you give the value. That's how to convert primitive data into object format. Any questions here? How to convert primitive data into object format? Okay, anyway, you won't talk. Unboxing. So next unboxing means the automatic conversion of wrapper data type into its corresponding primitive data type is known as unboxing. So what we are doing here, your object you are converting into primitive data format is called unboxing. It is a reverse process of auto boxing, right? So reverse process of auto boxing. So converting a wrapper class object into primitive format. How can we do that? See that I have integer obj equal to new integer 100. 100 is the object format. How can you convert into primitive format? Either you can use obj dot int value, you can convert, and you can this method will return a int data type and num. So now we can print them. So this is the object dot int value you can use. So int value, if it is an integer, int value. If it is a different float value is there. So based on the type of data you have that methods are there. You can use those methods. You can convert object into primitive data type format, or you can use integer dot parseInt if it is a string value. Okay, so this kind of methods are there. You can call and explore the methods. And creating wrapper objects. So to create a wrapper objects, use the wrapper class instead of primitive data type. To get the value, you can just print the object. So like this, you can directly also can create like this. Integer my int equal to 5. Double my double equal to 5.99. Character my char equal to capital. These are all objects, not primitive data type now. So these are all objects, not primitive data type. So another useful method is the toString method, which is used to convert the wrapper object to string format. So these objects you want to convert into string format, you can use a toString method. ToString method you can use. The following example, we can convert integer to a string and use the length and method of the string class to output the length of the string. You can see here, integer wrapper object my int equal to 100. Now I'm converting this myInt object into string format. How I'm doing? I'm calling the toString method. Now this is a toString returns a string type of data and my string dot length, and you will get a 3 answer. You will get 3 answer here. This is how to convert object into string format. How can you convert object into string format? Wrapper object into string format using toString method. So these are all methods you need to remember, very, very important. That's all the wrapper classes, how we can use. Any questions? Let's create a quickly wrapper class demo. So take this first, auto boxing. Auto boxing means what? Converting primitive into object format. So let me show you this. So public static. So void auto boxing demo. Auto boxing demo. In the auto boxing means what?
Converting primitive data types to wrapper
Converting primitive
type.
data to object form is called auto box. So let's do that. First I'll declare int n equal to 100. So now I need to convert primitive into wrapper object. So how can we do that? So integer obj equal to integer wrapper class dot, so value of method. So value of method is there. So there is a value of method overloaded here in this class. See that value of overloaded, value of int I. So now integer, right? I'm passing n value. Wrapper data I'm passing. That's the overloading. So what is the overloading means? Method overloading. What is method overloading?
Multiple methods with the same name and different parameters.
Object value is obj. So then you can call this auto boxing thing. That's one thing. So now he is primitive data 100, object also 100 now in the object format. Next, unboxing. So what is unboxing means?
Converting wrapper class to primitive.
Converting wrapper
Wrapper
object
class to primitive data.
Primitive.
primitive format is called unboxing. Quite opposite to auto boxing, right? So now I have a data. So integer obj equal to integer dot value of, so I can pass 250. Okay, so this I need to convert into integer, converting object into primitive format. So one more thing also I'll show you here. So now I'm converting. So int, so I equal to obj dot int value. So there is a int value. Can you see that? Int value. So you are converting that into integer format. This is the one. Okay. Now primitive I value is, so now I is a primitive value, and also object value is plus obj. This is the one. Suppose my string, I am declaring a string s equal to 50 in string format. 50 in string format. How can you convert into integer format? Convert the string object into primitive int. So this is the formula, int. So I1 equal to integer wrapper class dot
toString.
parse int.
Oh,
Parse int method is there. So you can pass that value, and now this will be integer value. Now I1 int primitive value is, you can see that I1 value, and the string value still, string s value is, and still in the 50 format only. But how can you check that, so whether it is converted into 50? You can do that So int sum equal to I1 plus 5. You can check that. If it is not converted, it will throw error for you. Sum value is sum. Same S value you can see. String S1 equal to S plus 2 if I give, and this will convert into 52. S1 value, this is in string format only, right? S is in string format only. 50 plus 2, you will get a 52, right? Or 502 you will get. It's not 52. 502 you will get here. 502 in the string format. 502 you will get, not 552. So you can see that, and that's the how to convert string object into integer format and object into int format. So primitive format we are converting. So this is the, see that 502 you got, but here you are adding 50 is an integer, it is converted here. So the string is converted into integer format. 50 plus 5, 55 you got, right? That's another thing. And one more thing also you can do that, and you can so convert into, this one is now string, right? How can we convert into string format object? So this object, how can we convert into string format? So convert the, so let me give you another program. Static void, so declare wrapper objects directly. Declare wrapper objects demo. So I'm declaring wrapper objects directly. See that integer into obj equal to 10. So double the obj equal to 15.45. So like this you can declare your wrapper objects. Long L obj equal to 100 L, 100, just 100. So you can declare like this, capital L you have to declare. So now I want to convert this into string format. How can we convert this long into string format? Convert long wrapper object into string format using toString method. Which one you have to use? toString method you have to use. That returns a string type data. String str equal to and lobj dot toString method. So toString method you are using. You don't need this. So this is how it will convert. So str length is, you can find str length is str dot length method you call, length method you can call. So this is how to convert into objects into string format. These are wrapper objects, right? Wrapper objects. So one by one let me print. Int obj plus d obj plus l. So this is the very important points. All this, please concentrate these small, but in the interviews also they will ask you guys. So please concentrate, and small single line things all they might ask you. So see that length is 3, 100 length is 3, right? So that string length it is finding. Okay, so that's all for the day, and next class I'll show you other.
Ramesh garu